Good morning. We decided to come talk to you again today, and we decided to do it outside. I don't know why, but
Oh, I do.
why?
We we got up early this morning to go check out a gym, and I just wanted to put on a hat. I didn't want to take a shower,
That's right. She's
so I thought we would go outside and wear the hat versus record inside with the hat.
We're outside because she wanted to wear the hat. It is a very cute hat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's true.
you look good. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we mentioned last time that we made the video that we were going to talk about video games, and we have done some work since then and come up with some new ways of dealing with video games. I say dealing because today video games are a challenge, and not only for us, but I hear that from many people that it's a challenge for them with their children as well. I've done some reading, and what I've read has suggested that children, and I guess it's not only children, but humans, people, adults alike, have become addicted to looking at screens for the most part. But video games are a huge part of that.
I think we see this not only at our homes, but we also see this in restaurants. They have those little kiosks in the middle of the table, so when you go to Applebee's with your family, your kids can play games for $1.99. And I think to a certain extent we have taken video games to a level they were never intended to be. So it's kind of taken some of the ability to be social off of the table at the same time.
Even your neighborhood bar and grill has jumped on the bandwagon. So, that was funny, I guess.
That's funny.
So, what we have found is that, especially with our two oldest children, I think that they became so addicted to playing video games that that was all they wanted to do. And when it was time to do something else that kids like to do, go play outside, go sledding. We went sledding this winter. And it was an amazing time during our last snowstorm. And Brandon slides down the hill and gets to the bottom and says, I'm bored.
I'm bored.
I'm bored. I'm like, you just slid down the hill in a foot of snow and you got to the bottom and you're bored. And I think that's a pretty good indicator of what children and people face today when they do not have that screen in front of them that distracts their brain and engages it into that environment. I've heard and read that research is showing that as children have become older, the amount of anxiety, the amount of depression that researchers are finding is growing at a quite incredible rate. And I believe that this contributes to that. So,
Not all video games are bad. Studies also show that in moderation, video games can teach social skills and fine motor skills, and honestly, video games do bring a lot of joy to the kids. And so, although sometimes this isn't a battle that we want to have, I mean, to be honest with you, sometimes we use video games as a babysitter also, but I promise it's a battle worth having. We started having it a couple of months ago where, we realized and we recognized when we asked the kids to get off the video games, it was a challenge. It was attitude. It was, I'm bored. It's almost like they lost the ability to be able to entertain themselves. And when I was a kid, and I know a lot of kids hear that from their parents, but when I was a kid, we would go out and play with our neighbors. I would be gone from sunup to sundown, riding bikes, playing in the swamp, chasing cows, all those kind of things.
swamp?
Yeah, the swamp.
Wow.
There was a swamp,
That sounds.
and it was really fun. But although, it's not the same as it used to be, we still need to teach them to come up with ways to entertain themselves, because filling that void and not just being distracted by video games is an ongoing problem until we at least control that in our homes.
So, So me being a technology person often looks to some sort of technology tool to help me be a parent, to achieve some parenting skill that that is a good skill, and I haven't done an amazing job at it. So I am learning that now, that though there are technology tools to help in that, the number one thing should be you as a parent setting boundaries, and most importantly, staying consistent with those boundaries. And that's the hard part, because we all do that. It's very easy to not follow through with what we say because we're tired, and that's the easy route. I too have adopted an iDad that I replaced for the real dad, and that was my cop-out. So in an effort to grow from that, I have been learning to follow through with the rules that we have created for our children.
One of the rules that we have always enforced, or I have before Ryan and the kids moved in, was that they don't get to play video games until 8 o'clock. It's, to be honest with you, the only rule that I've really been able to follow through on, because it was such a concrete black and white rule. And the reason that rule was put in place is because I don't want them waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to run to the video games because they're addicted to them, or 7. If they know they can't play them till 8, they're not as eager to just jump out of bed and distract themselves. In the mornings before school, I don't allow them to play Xbox, because I know how it is, and Ryan will talk to this too, about when he governed me from from my phone.
That was her doing, not my doing.
I mean, that's true, but I was trying to practice what we were preaching. So, anyway, the intent of getting them on the video games not until 8 o'clock was really just to help them realize, they have responsibilities before they just jump to the video games.
Right. So, tool. We did start using a tool, and what I bought was the Disney Circle device. I'm not quite sure how Disney is incorporated into it, but it's a device called the Circle, and you plug it into your network, and at the internet traffic level, it keeps track of devices and what type of internet feeds are going to those devices. You set up your family of people, and it detects all the devices in your home, everything, including all of your smart devices. You can detect your fridge, anything that talks to the network, it knows about. You assign devices to people, such as our kids' iPads or iPhones. You tie it to them, and it categorizes the different type of internet traffic coming to them. And so it will show you on a daily basis how much time they're watching Netflix, how much time they're playing Fortnite, looking at YouTube, and so on. It can categorize those types of activities into like games, into video watching, entertainment, and so on. So that is a tool to help us keep track of and in some ways govern what they're doing and how much time they spent doing it. So, rules that we have set. On weekdays, they have an hour of video game playtime, and on weekends, that's 3 hours. I know some may think that that's restrictive, on the restrictive end, and some may think that that's a decent amount of time. That's where we've started. At first, it was challenging for the kids. We still see it. Can we have more time on this? And it's hard to say no. We have done a pretty good job at it. It's quite surprising the amount of time that kids spend, and they don't realize it. So it's helping them realize what they're doing as well.
I think if you were to challenge yourself with that same restriction, you would find that you spend a lot of time on your device too. I know I did. I asked Ryan, on my Facebook, can you give me 1 hour a day? Because you're giving the children an hour on Xbox. I thought an hour. Well, I don't realize I'm scrolling while I'm cooking dinner. I'm scrolling while I'm watching TV. Like, who needs to do that? And so my hour went by so fast, and I said, can you give me another hour? Oh,
Right.
You know, wide awake with that realization. But when we first implemented the 1 hour rule, the hour went by for the kids, and you know, we were sticking to it. That's it, your hour's up. What we heard was that little kid inside of them is still in there. They were running through the house, they were playing tag, they were doing kid stuff. And when you help them, guide them to be a kid, they will naturally fall in line to that.
It's true. What I've seen is what the childlike behaviors that we all know as children being children are there. And those devices can distract their brain from being the child that is healthy for them to be. The biggest surprise that I've seen out of it is their reaction. I expected a lot more resistance, a lot more complaining, and that really hasn't been there. And
I think it's because we've been consistent. If we, you know, were continually approving them to have additional time, then they wouldn't know what those guidelines were. They wouldn't know what the boundaries were, or they just wouldn't trust us when we put our own rules into place, because we don't follow our own rules.
right, yeah. So, I highly recommend the Circle device. It used to be $100. It's now $40 on Amazon. It works across whatever type of devices in your house. So it works on their phone. It combines that with time spent watching the TV or playing the Xbox and groups it all together. It's really quite cool. Well worth the $40. Do not replace it with being the parent, though. That should be your number one learning experience and goal that I've experienced. So, video games. The time limits we've set so far, I'm quite happy with them. The kids, you know, I don't know that I'd say they're happy with them, but they're not unhappy with them, I don't believe. So it's been quite a good experience. I would recommend doing something along those lines. No matter what time you choose, just make it be appropriate for you and for your kids. Those were our times. That doesn't necessarily mean that those are your times. So
All right.
that's our video game experience. We will be back with you again shortly. Bye.